Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. Today I will be reviewing the debut full-length album from US heavy metal slash speed metal, and in some cases slash thrash metal band Belligerator. It is Warriors of Speed. Let's go to the page here. This was released independently and digitally through their Bandcamp page on March 13th. So, again, yeah, it hasn't been given a physical release as far as I know. If it has, it was probably going to be sold at shows or so on whenever they're playing, at least locally. That's all. So that's all I can at least can add to that. But since shows are at least are still slowly trying to come back. Again, I probably expect Belligerator to at least sell this album physically, at least at their shows, and maybe on Facebook or whatnot, and maybe on their Bandcamp page whenever. So, I don't want to babble on too long before in this intro part. Alright, so Belligerator. These guys, again, are based out of the United States, which is Lowell, Massachusetts, and they were formed in 2014. And again, this is their debut full-length album. So without further ado, let me get in to my review, or just my thoughts in general on the debut album from Belligerator. It is Warriors of Speed. Let me get into it. Alright, so before I really give any of my thoughts on this release, let's do a track listing rundown. We got about 9 songs here, and it all clocks in at 43 minutes and 14 seconds. Alright, so these 9 songs are Spawn the Legacy, the title track, Into the Dark, White Death, Possessed, Blacked Out, Imperator, they think that's, yeah, Imperator, or Imperator, I think it's, yeah, Imperator, can't speak today, NIS, and finally, Pharaoh's Crypt. Okay, so there's your 9 songs there. Apologize for the little slow stop there. Again, I think I spelled it correctly, Imperator. Yeah. Alright, I know, apologies there. I know I sound like a dumbass in this. It makes me seem like I didn't finish school, but that's just me. Again, I may have some good fucking glasses, but the thing is, my computer's there. I don't want to get too close to the microphone, or unless it's going to make such a unbearable sound that it almost makes it me sound like I'm speaking out of one of those old 1940s or 50s microphones where it's so distorted and it actually ends up being ear rape. So that's why I'm trying to at least keep a close distance. And of course the light here and the lighting, everything. Alright, apologize there. I don't want to talk too much about that. Let's just get right into it. Alright, so I just ran through at least the songs here. So what are my thoughts on here? This is their debut album, so what do they have to offer here? Again, they've been around since 2014, and so it's close to 8 years. It seems there 8 years for them that it has taken them to actually release a debut album. And just from my thoughts, compared to some other really good debut albums, this is a fine debut album, and I don't want to end up coming off that I'm being harsh on this, because this is a fine debut album. But the thing is, it's not the most amazing thing, though, at the same time. I think, if anything, it's fine. They definitely really, it's definitely fast, for sure. It's definitely full speed ahead in some places. They definitely are just running around all over the place in terms of just the musicianship. They're definitely not slowing down for the most part, unless when it comes to the instrumental NIS, which is, again, which is a fine. They do kind of slow things down in some cases, but at the same time, you can tell that they're still working out a lot of their ideas, and in terms of their compositions. You can tell it's still rough. In terms of the way everything's coming off in some cases. It's still rough around the edges. They're not honed in a lot of the musicianship. It's not as tight. It's very loose playing in some cases, and even some cases too, it's a little sloppy. But that I think in some cases it might come off as a charm to certain releases, but here you can definitely tell that they really haven't worked out a lot of it. But I don't want to make that sound like I'm completely being harsh. I'm just being as honest as possible with this, and I think if anything, there's a lot of potential on here. There's still plenty of great stuff. Singer is definitely shouty in some cases. Definitely at times reminds me, almost at times, a very shouty Dan Beehler of Exciter. Though he's not hitting a lot of those banshee-like screams. It's just more of those, the way how Dan Beehler definitely sounded on like Heavy Metal Maniac or Violence and Force. Those real shouty when he actually would. His more mid-range stuff, and not so much his real high, screechy kind of banshee-like vocals. That's what it's like. Again, Dan Beehler, but without that. And again, it works in some cases. It works for this because again, it's got that street feel to some of it. It's definitely more honest in terms of its execution, but again, at the same time, it's not the most perfectly executed. So that's where I'm at with this one. There still is some great guitar work. Again, that's one of the best things about here is really the guitar work. Even if some cases it comes off a little sloppy as here and there still is a lot of good potential that I think if these guys keep going with each album, I can expect them really just improving on that musicianship and improving on their writing and just maturing even more. I can see these guys really being a really good band. Just here, there's definitely, it's not as honed in is the best way I'm probably going to use here, the best word. But there still is some fine songs. I mean, it opens up with Spawn the Legacy, which is a good opener, though not my favorite track on the album, but it definitely shows a lot of potential. So there we go. And I mean also that they get behind the very rough, very production. Again, that's another one. The production isn't the great. I mean, the drummer, I almost feel like the production makes the drummer sound a little too sloppy in some cases too, but this comes down to the recording, the mixing, and so on. Again, it's almost a glorified demo in some cases too. It still is fun. It still is. It's still not bad. So I just want to throw my thoughts on that one too, because I don't really talk too much about production here too often on a lot of my reviews here. So I want to kind of just here and there shoehorn in a bit. All right, I just want to shoehorn my thoughts on the production in there. All right, so let's move on. I think by the time it gets into the title track, which is actually the song that comes after Spawn the Legacy, is where I think it actually has where I think some of the good stuff comes in, because this is a really good song and I do like it. Again, the musicianship isn't the best here, but at the same time, I probably think if I saw these guys live, if I'm able to see these guys live, I probably would have an even better, at least impression on some of these. Because again, there's a lot of great potential there. They definitely can make a really good track. And this one is really, I think you can definitely tell they got a lot of potential. And it's definitely on the title track here. Same goes for Into the Dark, another good song on here. Same goes for White Death. And then finally, I think my last favorite track here is NIS, which is the instrumental. This is really, again, you really get to see, at least here, really more of the potential of some of these guys, especially when it comes to the guitar work. Again, he's a straight up shredder here. He definitely knows how to at least to play his instrument. It's just that, again, they just are really just fast. They're just completely just running into a lot of it in some cases. It's just clashing into it. And that's, in some cases, it's, again, too fast. Sometimes you gotta slow things down a bit, and just where you really can find that sweet spot. And again, you do get to hear some of that here on the title track. I mean, also the instrumental here. It's all good. I mean, and nothing's completely terrible. Again, it's just that I think with each release, I think is where, again, they really can. Will hear them figuring out more of what to do with their songs. Of course, it ends with the very last track, which is Pharaoh's Crypt, which is a good song. Nonetheless, it's a good ending to a good track. Again, it's got that sort of Eastern feel going on, or Egyptian sort of feel to its beginning riff, and it's cool. It's cool. It adds some dynamic to the track. This shows they got a creative ideas. They are very creative. Some cases, though, again, it's not perfectly executed. It's still, again, rough, raw, and very youthful. And that's one thing I can't take away. They really come off as just a young, youthful band that are hungry. But at the same time, they definitely seem to be a little too quick in terms of their execution. It's why I think things come off a little bit, just a bit patchy. That's just my honest opinion. Don't take this as me being harsh and saying that they're not good. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, again, with each release, I think this is where I think you'll probably hear them really progress further and mature as musicians. Here, it's just a good, at least a decent enough impression, basically. It's a decent enough beginning. You get a good idea what these guys are probably going to be capable of. But again, it's not perfectly executed in the way that I think some will expect. But again, that's just personally me. I'm not saying that these guys suck. I'm just saying things can be worked out, things can be fixed. And since it's still pretty early, though, in terms of their debut release, again, I can expect things to really change within just at least the second or so, minute they released their second album. And I really do. I hope these guys actually are able to really become just an absolute force. So it's good. It's a good album, nonetheless. I do think, again, if they can fix some of their stuff out, fix out some of the musicianships, they can be, again, really good. Just that here, not everything's completely perfect. But, again, I enjoy it, and I'm not saying it's bad, alright? Just to make that clear, I'm saying this is bad. It's fine. It's a good album, and I have some favorites. Again, the title track, Into the Dark, White Death, and NIS, which is the instrumental. Those are probably my 4 favorite tracks on here. So there you go. I hope at least some of you don't take this the wrong way. It is a good album. They definitely seem to show at least what they are going to be capable of. They definitely show a lot of that. There's a lot of good signs that they can be a really good band. Just here, I don't feel like everything is completely put in place, but that's not a bad thing. It's a debut release. So you have to look at it in that sort of viewpoint. It's a debut release. Not everything's going to be perfect on the debut. But that's again, it should be noted. Sometimes bands can hit it out of the park with their debut albums. Again, not everything has to be the first Van Halen album. That's the point I'm trying to make. But still, with this one, it isn't. But that's not a bad thing. It's still a good album, and you definitely can hear the potential. So my rating for this one, it's a 7.95 out of 10. Again, if I was this harsh, I would be giving it at least a 5.95 or a 5.10. That would be my lowest if I want to be that harsh, but I don't want to, and I feel that it's not a 5. It's at least, to me, easily a 7.95 out of 10. Okay? So, it's still, again, still a solid album. And if you think that this actually sounds like something you want to listen to, you want to check out, I will be leaving you a link to the Bandcamp page. See? I'm being honest. I'm being fair. I'm being good. So, if you want to listen to this, again, I'll leave you a link to the Bandcamp page, which will be found in the description box. And you can download this at the hefty price of Name Your Price. You can pick the price that you want to at least pay for this. Again, you can come up with your own price. They're not forcing you to pay for, at least to pay in some cases. They're not forcing you. You can buy this, you can download it for free if you wanted to, which just means just typing in a 0. But if you feel like you want to be generous and give them at least $1, you can. Again, that's what Name Your Price means. I know I'm sounding like an absolute complete dealer here. I am sounding like an auctioneer. Alright, I know, I don't want to go on for too long. So there you go. If this sounds like something you want to listen to, you can go check out the Bandcamp page. And you can listen to this album, and hopefully it does something for you. That's what I'm hoping for. Again, I think they got a lot of potential. I know I use that word a lot in this one, but that's the best word I can use to describe these guys. So there you go. I hope all of you enjoyed. This is for Thrash Shed. Sam out. Now see you all later. Take care, everyone.